What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune in and check out the content. With that being said, man, I want to speak on Rich Paul and the statement that he just made a little while ago, a few days ago, about LeBron James not having that selfish gene because LeBron James did not grow up in a two-parent household, right? And I laughed when I first heard it because I thought that, like I've never heard anybody put it that way, you know, to penalize somebody for growing up in a two-parent household. I just thought was funny, because most of the time I've heard people say, all right, you have a better chance of success if you come from a two-parent household. I've heard it, put like that. But now what Rich Paul has done is switched it around, and he want to hold it against Mike and Kobe because they come from two-parent households, which I thought was funny. And a lot of other podcasters and ex basketball players, are dragging Rich Paul for this. And I think that Rich Paul, he's not really doing LeBron James any favor making these kind of statements, right? Because when he make these kind of statements, they just so ridiculous, and they're so, like, you can't even really support them, or you don't have no type of data or nothing to back it up. It's just something that he just made up, and he's just saying, he's just trying to sound like he's intelligent, and it's not working. I don't know if LeBron James behind the scenes is just telling them, stop helping me because this is not, this not working out. You not. It's obvious what he's doing. He's just trying to take up for his guy because LeBron is his guy. But he need to be able to make stronger arguments when he take up for LeBron James, and not just, say stuff like this, because it's so easy for people to come back at this kind of argument when you talk about the success of franchise type athletes coming from two-parent households, or anybody in the entertainment business, like the people who reach it to the highest level most of the time are the ones who come from two-parent households. When you talk about Michael Jordan, like he said, come from a two-parent household. Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson come from a two-parent household. As far, mother and father played a heavy role in all of their lives, right? You talk about golf, Tiger Woods, his mother and his father played a heavy presence. Even in tennis, Venus and Serena, right? Like, look what their father and their mother did for them. So his Rich Paul's argument, it just sounds ridiculous, basically, that because you have both parents in your life, you're more likely to be selfish. Nobody, in my opinion, was more unselfish than Magic Johnson. And I spoke about, somebody mentioned this on my live show that I did Sunday, that Magic Johnson come from a two-parent household, and nobody was more, unselfish than Magic Johnson. So, I wish that the guy Max Kellerman had, he pushed back sometimes on what Rich Paul says, and put him in a position where you got to explain that, like, give some type of explanation for, like, why do you feel like that, not just allow him to make statements with no basis or anything like that, because this kind of stuff is really not doing LeBron James no favor. And LeBron James, with all of the stuff that surround LeBron James, you have to pick like, if I was in their circle, I would pick my words and my battles carefully, because what you want to do, you want to be able to at least have some type of, be able to defend some of what you say. And then some things you don't want to defend. All this statement, dude, is proof that a guy came out a little while ago, Ray Daniels. I think he's in entertainment or something somewhere. And he said the exact opposite, right? He said he don't trust LeBron James because LeBron James came from a single parent household. And he said that that is like one of the flaws in LeBron James, his game, his character, because he didn't have that that father figure or that male figure to instill certain things in him, right? So, and I'm not gonna get into that, but that just proves, like Rich Paul's statement just proves that LeBron James and the Rich Paul, they hear things like this and they wanna, go back at it, but they don't know how to, they're not intelligent enough to put up an argument to counter that. Or and even if you're not, basically all you have to do is do like you did, just ignore it, right? Because it, he made the statement. Some people agreed with it, some people didn't agree with it, but eventually it just faded away. Now Rich Paul comes out and he make this statement about, LeBron James actually coming from a single parent household was his benefit over a two-parent household. Um, yeah, I disagree with that. I think that if anything, he should have said that, LeBron James was able to overcome despite coming from a single parent household. That would have been a more reasonable statement for him to make rather than. But see, it just seems like their camp, LeBron James and Rich Paul, they can't build LeBron James up without tearing other people down. Because why bring Mike and Kobe into this discussion? I don't know if this is by design or on purpose, but I think if I don't know, it just seems to me like they don't have like a publicist, or you know what I mean, and he just speaking off the cuff. This guy's just speaking off the cuff, and his arguments are not really making any sense, and they're not doing anything to help LeBron James out. It just I think it's just further alienate LeBron James and just set him apart from everybody, right? It's making him something like I said, it's just alienating him. And you got a guy in LeBron James who is coming down the wire as far as his career is concerned, right? And so you want to be able to, when his career is over, you don't want to have a whole lot of controversy around you, because you want to be able to do business in different arenas. You want to. This is a time. Well, the whole time he was in the league, I always said should have been a time for LeBron James to be building bridges and making lifelong relationships that's going to carry him over after his career in basketball, not just thinking that, okay, just because I'm LeBron James and I played in the NBA for 23 years, like people are going to really just want to do business with me. Like they're gonna find out it don't work like that, right? I think Mike found out, Kobe found out, you know, that you have to people outside of that basketball, um, that basketball arena, they don't really big businessmen, they don't really care about that. They don't care about like the average fan would. They looking, you talking about people who make millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and you want to do, they're not going to be in awe of LeBron James. They're not going to bend the knee. They didn't do it for Mike. They didn't do it for Kobe. You got to get out there and compete with people. That's why you need relationships. You need somebody who's going to um usher you into certain rooms, whereas though just because you're a basketball player don't mean that you're entitled, that you're going to be able to get into certain rooms. As a matter of fact, in some instances it might work against you, because somebody might have some type of resentment. Somebody, they might be a little bit jealous of you, or they might think that you are that you're not qualified to do business with them. So this would have been LeBron James' opportunity, this 20 something years that he's been in the league, to build relationships. He said that's what he went to Los Angeles for, was to build relationships as far as like in the entertainment business. And I hope that he did that, because I don't know, like this basketball thing for LeBron James is just, in my opinion, is going downhill. Rick Bucher said something a while ago that I thought, and it was important. Even people in basketball, like nobody in basketball like really refers to LeBron James for like his expertise. Like Kobe went to Mike and said, used to ask him questions, and Mike, linked on Magic Johnson and some other guys around the league who he when he first got there, who he admired, and he took counsel from them a little bit, right? But Rick Bucus, and he said that nobody does LeBron James like that. He's not somebody who people seek out for that type of information, right? And so if the people who play in basketball don't seek them out, then just imagine, guys who don't play basketball, like I said, and men who make tens of millions of dollars a year, they're not going to be smitten by LeBron James. And LeBron James had the opportunity to build bridges and meet people, but I don't think he took advantage of that. He's just going to lean on the fact that he played professional basketball for 23 years. It's going to be all downhill, man, all downhill once this guy retired. So that's my take on it. I don't think Rich Paul did LeBron James no favor with that ridiculous statement about coming from a single parent household versus coming from a two-parent household. And that's why LeBron, like penalizing men who stay and take care of their kids, and take care of their families. It's crazy. This guy, Rich Paul, man. I don't know. They need to like drug test him because this is crazy. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm gonna check y'all out in the next video. Peace.